Hey, do you ever get back pain when you go to press overhead? If so, you might want to check out this next video.
Let's go.
Hi, my name is Dr. Moses Bernard. I'm a chiropractor and mobility specialist, and today I'm here to talk about overhead pressing and people who have back pain when they do so. But before we get started, I want you to make sure that you click on the pinned comment below for the Bodyweight Beast program. So I'm here today with Coach Tanya, and we're going to talk about overhead pressing. And it's extremely common that when people go to press overhead, especially when they get tired or when the weight's really heavy, that they start to feel pain in their low back. And one of the main causes for that is that people don't have enough shoulder flexibility to actually be able to press overhead without their back wanting to compensate. So I'm going to have Coach Tanya stand up here, and as she faces away, if she goes to press overhead, you can see that some people, you can be compensating with the low back while doing so, and you may not realize. So it might not be painful your first few reps, but if the weight gets really heavy, if you get tired, you might start to notice that the back starts to get more and more bothered. So to make sure that we have the ability to use our shoulders without our back, we want to screen that we can do so first. So I'm going to have Coach Tanya lie on her back on the table. I'm going to give her the dowel, and she's going to be holding the dowel at about shoulder width. So we're first going to test to see, do her arms have the ability to get overhead even with the back able to compensate a tiny bit. So I'm going to have her keep her arms totally locked, and we're going to bring her arms straight back. And in this position, you'll notice that her elbows can get to the table, so her arm does get straight in line with the rest of her body. But as you can see, if you look at her low back, you can see there's a big space there. So her back has come off the table in her ability to do this. So we're going to retest this in a way that her back actually can't compensate. So what we're now going to do, we're going to pull her knees to her chest. So by pulling her knees to her chest, we've taken her low back and we've crushed it into the table. So we've taken her low back totally out of the picture, and we now want to see, does she have the ability to get her shoulders overhead without her back compensating? So from here, we're going to do that exact same thing. We're going to bring her arms back. Ugh. And we're hitting a little bit of a wall here. And so you can notice that her arms don't quite get to the table. So in her case, her using her back, so now straighten your legs. Yep. So now that her back can help, her arms get overhead. So it's not that her arms are doing any more in this position, it's that her back is now helping her. So we saw that without her back helping, her arms only got to here. Tanya, bring your knees back to your chest again. So some modifications that we have. So she likes to press overhead. She knows that her shoulders can't quite get there. What are we going to do? Are we going to stop training? No, we're just going to find a modification that works for her. So now I'm going to have her bring her arms a little bit wider. So now from here, as we bring her arms down, boom, elbows get to the table. So for her, if her knees are to her chest, we've made sure that her back can't help. We found an arm position where she's able to get her arms to the table without that back compensation. So for her, if she's overhead pressing, as long as her arms are at this width or wider, we can ensure that she won't need to be compensating with her low back. Now, this is checking just to see that the prerequisite is there. This doesn't necessarily mean that she has the control to do this, though. This just means that it can get there passively. We want to ensure that she can get there actively as well. So I'm going to have you flip over, go face down now. I want you to slide back just a little bit so your arms are just barely hanging off the edge of the table. So now we're going to look at the active version of the same thing. So if she can't do this passively, we know she's not going to be able to do it actively. But if she can do it passively, she might be able to do it actively, but she might not. So let's take a look. So her forehead's on the ground. I want you to lift your arms as high as you can from here. Good. So she can lift her arms, but again, you'll notice that her back can help her. So now we're going to look at this exact same type of movement and see, can she do it without her back helping? So coach, I'm going to bring you into a tabletop position. And I want you to sit back into your heels. Think of like a yoga child's pose type move, and bring your head down to the table. Oh, okay. Perfect. Bring your arms straight forwards. Perfect. So what we are doing now is we are taking the position that we used on her back, and we're just flipping it the other way around. And so now her knees are to her chest, her back can't help. Her back is locked. Her head's on the ground. Now the only thing that is free to move from here is her arms. So now I'm going to have you lock your arms, try to lift the dowel off the table. And crickets, because she can't do it from here. So she passively we already know that from this grip, she passively wasn't able to get here. So it makes sense that she doesn't have the active control here either. So let's find the position where she could passively get to. So I'm going to bring your arms a little bit wider. Perfect. And I'm going to have you try to lift from there. And she can, but it's a struggle. And so she has the ability to actively get her arms to overhead in this position, but it's kind of weak. So if we go back to our original comment of our original discussion of being able to press overhead and not having the back want to help, we found that if she's narrow, she can't quite get overhead. If she's wide, she can get there, but it's kind of a struggle to do so, which might mean that those first few reps, she's okay, but as we go further and further down, as she gets more tired, she's not quite able to use the arms to get there, and the back wants to compensate a little bit more. So we can use this exact same position that we used as the assessment to strengthen. So I'm going to have you go back into this exact same position. Perfect. Arms are going to come forwards. And right now we're just using the dowel, but as she gets more advanced at this, we could add a little bit of weight. So we might grab a 5-pound weight and throw it in there, might grab something a little bit heavier, and what she's going to do is she's going to do a set of isolation exercises from here. So we're just going to have coach do 10 reps from this position. So I'm going to have you lock out the elbows, lift the arm, and down. Good. And again, yep. So just on your own time, you're just going to count out 10 reps here. Things that she's going to be focusing on are making sure that the elbows stay locked, because her bending the elbows is her shortening the lever, and she's now using her biceps and her elbows to do the work instead of the shoulders to do the work. As she gets more tired, she might want to start to bring her head up off the ground, which is her trying to use her back to help instead of her arms to help. And so the other thing she might do is she might start to use a little bit more wrist to help her lift that dowel off the ground instead of just the shoulder. So paying attention to what the wrist is doing, what the elbow is doing, what the shoulder is doing, gives us the strength to make sure that our arm can function up over our head, and we're doing so in a position where it is absolutely impossible for the back to want to compensate.
That was hard. That was really hard.
All right, guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video and learned about some things to make your overhead press even more bulletproof. So before we leave, I want you to make sure that you click like to subscribe. Check the pinned comment below for the Bodyweight Beast program. And again, I'm Dr. Moses Bernard. Hope you guys enjoyed the video.